Did you know that signing a separation agreement too early can cost you far more than just money? It's one of the most overlooked mistakes men make during divorce, rushing to get something signed before they fully understand what they're giving up. At first, it feels like the mature, responsible thing to do. You want to avoid drama, move on, and settle things quickly. But that quick signature can quietly lock you into terms that haunt you for years. Most men don't realize the danger until it's too late. When their savings are drained, their parenting time is limited, or their rights are gone for good. Because the truth is, separation agreements aren't just pieces of paper. They're legal contracts with power that can reshape your entire future. In this video, we'll break down 7 traps hidden inside early separation agreements. Traps that catch many men off guard and leave them paying a price they never intended. If you want to protect your future and avoid regrets, pay close attention. This is what you need to know before you sign anything. He signed without seeing the full picture. At first, it felt like the logical step. Get the separation agreement done so both sides can move forward. But what he didn't realize was that by rushing, he lost the power to negotiate once the full details emerged. Assets weren't fully disclosed. Debts were still being uncovered. And future obligations weren't clear yet. This is the first trap, losing negotiation power before understanding the full picture. When you sign early, you're locking yourself into terms based on incomplete information. And the law doesn't look kindly on reopening agreements just because you didn't know everything at the time. That means what seemed fair, or at least manageable, in the moment can become a permanent burden. Men often feel pressured by attorneys, family, or even their own exhaustion to just get over with. But that impatience can cost them dearly, because once that ink dries, the leverage they thought they had disappears. The option to negotiate or adjust later becomes nearly impossible. He thought he was being reasonable, but in reality, he was handing over control without fully knowing what he was giving away. And that loss of control is one of the biggest mistakes a man can make when it comes to protecting his future. He didn't realize how deep the financial impact would go. At first, the numbers seemed manageable. The support amounts, the property division, it all felt like part of closing a chapter. But what he overlooked was how those early decisions would ripple through his entire financial life. Retirement plans stalled, savings drained, credit stretched thin just to keep up. This is trap number 2, overlooking long-term financial consequences. Signing too soon means agreeing to terms that might seem fair today, but become unsustainable tomorrow. Spousal support that lasts longer than expected. Property splits that leave him with hidden debts. Obligations that squeeze every dollar from his paycheck without room to breathe. Many men underestimate how these financial commitments add up over time, quietly eroding their stability and options. What looked like a reasonable deal can become a straitjacket, limiting choices and forcing sacrifices years down the road. He thought he was making peace with his past, but what he didn't see was how much of his future he was trading away, one signature at a time. He agreed to a parenting plan without thinking it through. At the time, it seemed fair, or at least good enough to avoid a fight. Maybe the kids were young, or the situation felt too complicated to challenge. So he signed off on limited visitation or a custody arrangement that didn't reflect what he truly wanted or deserved. But that's trap number 3, underestimating how early agreements impact custody and parenting time. What many men don't realize is that these decisions aren't easy to change later. Courts prioritize stability for children, so they're reluctant to disrupt established routines, even if those routines were set when emotions ran high and information was incomplete. He thought signing early meant cooperation and goodwill. What it really meant was losing precious time with his kids, time that can't be bought back. Months, years, milestones missed while the legal process drags on and the custody schedule remains locked in. He didn't know that agreeing too soon could turn into a long-term barrier between him and the relationship he wanted with his children. He didn't consider the hidden costs tied to his decisions. The separation agreement felt like a straightforward deal. Divide assets, set support payments, and move on. But what he didn't see was the legal and tax consequences lurking beneath the surface. That property transfer? It could trigger unexpected taxes. That support payment? It might not be tax deductible. Certain assets might carry liabilities he hadn't accounted for. This is trap number 4, ignoring legal and tax ramifications. Many men sign agreements without fully understanding how these details can affect their finances long-term. Without proper legal or financial advice, they end up with surprises like hefty tax bills or losing out on deductions that chip away at their savings. He thought the paperwork was just paperwork, but in reality, it was a complex financial contract with hidden costs that could take years to uncover. And those costs can turn a fair deal into a financial nightmare. Failing to see this trap means paying not just now, but for years to come. He felt the pressure to just get it done. The endless conversations, the tension with his ex, the overwhelming legal jargon. It all pushed him toward a quick resolution. Friends and family urged him to sign to avoid more conflict, to stop dragging it out. He wanted peace, relief, closure. But that's trap number 5, letting emotional pressure rush critical decisions. When emotions run high, it's easy to sacrifice clear thinking for immediate comfort. Men sign agreements not because they're fair or in their best interest, but because they're tired, drained, and desperate to move on. What they don't realize is that decisions made under emotional stress often lead to regret. What feels like relief today can become a lifetime of financial strain or lost rights tomorrow. He thought being cooperative would protect him. Instead, it blinded him to the real consequences, and the cost of rushing is a price that's often paid for years after the ink dries. He assumed he had all the facts. They'd shared finances for years. He thought he knew where the money was, what the assets were worth, and how debts were divided. But during the chaos of separation, full financial disclosure often gets buried. His ex might have hidden accounts, undisclosed income, or assets he never even knew existed. This is trap number 6, signing before fully assessing the ex-spouse's financial situation. Men who agree to terms without thorough investigation risk settling for far less than they deserve. Hidden assets can mean hidden losses. Without uncovering the full financial picture, they hand over too much and receive too little. He thought trust was enough. But in divorce, trust without verification can cost you dearly. Once the agreement is signed, chasing down what was missed becomes an uphill battle, one few win. And that's how a seemingly fair deal can turn into a lifelong regret. He thought signing meant moving on. He believed once the papers were signed, the hard part was over. That the agreement was just a step toward healing, a formality to close the door on a difficult chapter. So when he saw terms that weren't perfect, he told himself he could fix them later. After all, nothing was set in stone until everything was finalized, right? This is trap number 7, assuming the court will fix a bad deal later. The harsh reality is that courts are reluctant to reopen settled agreements. Unless there's a major, unexpected change, like a job loss or relocation, judges won't revisit custody arrangements or support payments. What you accept early on often becomes your permanent reality. He thought flexibility was built into the system. But final usually means final. And once you sign away certain rights or agree to specific terms, trying to change them later can be costly, time-consuming, and frustratingly difficult. He didn't realize that rushing to sign today could lock him into a lifetime of obligations he never fully agreed to. And that realization often comes when it's far too late to do anything about it. He didn't lose everything in one moment. It wasn't a single shock or a sudden blow. It was a series of small decisions, made too quickly or under pressure, that slowly chipped away at his future. Each trap seemed harmless on its own. A quick signature, a nod to move on, a trust placed too soon. But together, they built a cage he couldn't escape. Signing a separation agreement too early isn't just a legal mistake. It's a gamble with everything you've worked for. Your finances, your parenting time, your rights, even your peace of mind. All can be quietly sacrificed before you fully understand what's at stake. That's why patience, knowledge, and preparation aren't just advice. They're protection. If you're facing separation or divorce, don't let urgency rob you of control. Take the time to get the full picture. Consult experts. Ask the hard questions. And never sign something you don't fully understand. Because once that pen hits the paper, there's no rewind. Your future is worth holding on to. Make sure you don't lose it before you even realize it's gone.